I'm Peggy Coffeen from the Uplevel Dairy Podcast, and I'm proud and privileged to bring you these history stories as part of the National Dairy Shrine. And I'm joined here today for an interview with Mr. Joe Lineweaver. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
And for those that aren't familiar with you, Joe, you have built quite the legacy in the area of reproductive physiology and embryo transfer as an extension specialist at Virginia Tech, and also you founded Blue Ridge Embryos. Your work led to some of the first Jersey embryo transfers, and you also developed some of the industry standards and mentored so many others that had an impact in this field of reproductive technology, including offering scholarships to people in your name as well, holding leadership roles with the American Embryo Transfer Association, and you seem to have an affinity for Jersey cattle, bringing you back to the American Jersey Cattle Association. Joe, you have had an incredible career in the dairy industry, but let's take a moment to get to know you. How did you get your start working with dairy cattle? Where did you grow up, and what got you in the direction of reproductive technology and embryo transfer?
I was born and raised in Virginia, in Rockingham County. There was a lot of 4-H and FFA work back in the early days, and I just loved dairy judging, and so that's what shifted me over to the dairy industry. I went to Virginia Tech and studied my BS in dairy science, my master's in genetics in dairy science, and then went all the way to the West Coast to Washington State University for a PhD in reproductive physiology.
Oh my goodness. So your passion and pursuit of dairy cattle genetics took you across the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, but ultimately brought you back to the East Coast?
Yeah, and really, the American Dairy Science Association meeting the year I was finishing on the West Coast was at Penn State, and so I attended that meeting and then caught a ride back to my home in Rockingham County with some of the faculty members from Virginia Tech, and they interviewed me on the way down, and me not knowing that was going on, and so ended up back home.
So you didn't realize you were being recruited and interviewed on that car ride.
No.
You thought you were just getting a ride home, huh?
That's right, absolutely.
Oh, but look at where that path unfolded, where it's taken you, and now let's talk about this area of reproduction, embryo transfer. As you were pursuing your interest in genetics, how did you get involved in that specific side of the industry?
When I was applying for graduate school, the professor at Washington State University was the only one that said I could work in embryo transfer work. And so that's what took me to the West Coast.
Okay.
And during the time out there, we did a lot of work with lab species because they were so cheap to handle, and cattle research is expensive. And so that's the way it started.
Wow. So when you talk about those early days of embryo transfer, what was the process like at that time? Like, what were those early years like of that technology?
Early years, we didn't have the hormones to do the job. We didn't have the equipment to do the job, or the techniques in order to get things done. And so we spent a lot of time working on technique and everything associated that we seen associated with embryo transfer work.
So in these days, there wasn't a round of shots that you could give animals to be ready and prepared to do the trials with. You had to really go off of their natural cycle. That meant you had to have some patience with the timing too, didn't it?
Yeah, it was trying. There were as many strikeouts as there were victories. But it was fun.
Yeah, and so your time at Virginia Tech, let's touch on that for a moment here. You were a pretty busy guy while you were there.
Yeah, and of course when you join a department at a university, there are things that are going on, and you have to fill in and do that kind of work. And so my ET work sort of took back seat for a while. But in spare time and so forth, did start working with lab species and working on techniques and so forth to get back into ET work.
So you always kept your hand on that. At the same time, you ended up authoring or co-authoring 126 papers.
Yeah.
So what were some of the highlights of that research that you were doing? What are key findings that stand out for you?
I guess the big thing was a 22-page publication that outlines semen handling, all the research that go into it, storage of semen in liquid nitrogen, and and the techniques of AI and so forth. So that was the big deal.
Wow.
I was 90% extension and 10% teaching.
Okay.
So I taught a graduate course and an undergraduate course, and the endocrine part of a couple other courses at the time, but primarily extension and teaching dairymen how to use AI.
Wow, so your teaching wasn't just at the university, it was really out in the field, helping dairy farmers to understand what the necessary steps were to really optimize their opportunities with AI through the research that you did to have those protocols and procedures and kind of best practices, huh?
Yeah, because you want a dairy cow to freshen every 12 months so that the high milk production levels are prominent over low production at the end of a lactation. And so reproductive efficiency is a very important role there.
Yeah, and you made an impact in that area, Joe. And as you mentioned before, you were doing a lot of research, busy writing a lot of papers and teaching, but this embryo transfer concept was something that you kept gravitating toward and keeping close to your heart. And that led to the development of Blue Ridge Embryos. Tell me about that.
Back in the beginning, in the mid to late 70s, Dr. Richard Wilkes was getting out of vet school. I was on the faculty at Tech, and he called me up one day and said, ET's coming down the road, and we really need to get into it and see if we can do it. And so that's what started the ET work. And so we started working on weekends, holidays, annual leave, and so forth. And then during the week, of course, I was working Tech. And so it just took time. I had no time at home.
So this was really a passion project for you, like something that was near and dear to your heart, that you had a strong drive for developing embryo transfer technique. And you said that original call that you received said embryo transfer was coming down the road. What did that road look like at that time?
We were looking at the most valuable cows in a herd, the highest genetic, the highest production, the ones with the biggest numbers, and we were getting a large number of calves from those cows, and so that just increased the value of dairy cattle.
So you saw that opportunity to increase the value of cattle through the genetics, through being able to produce more of those high-end genetics, and let's talk specifically about what that led to for the Jersey breed. So a breed that, as we mentioned earlier, you've been quite involved in. What was it about Jerseys that led you to focus on that specific type of cow?
Well, Jerseys are the most efficient dairy breed. They have high butter fat, high solids. Their milk is craved by the cheese companies because they can get more cheese out out of a pound of Jersey milk than other milk. I've owned several breeds of cattle, but Jerseys are most efficient. They're as far comparing them to Holsteins, you can keep 3 Jerseys where you keep 2 Holsteins, and so that balances off the production level and so forth. And the Jersey people are just one of a kind. I mean, they're nice.
So it was the cow, but it was also the people that gravitated you towards
That is right. It's just like one big family.
One big family. And, and as you were working through some of these early stages of Blue Ridge Embryos and getting started working with the Jersey Association, can you just put a frame of reference? What decade, what era was that you were involved in those activities?
Yeah. The American Embryo Transfer Association was formed back early. I was in on the second meeting, I guess, of forming that organization. I was lucky enough to be on the board and president of that group, chairman of the certification committee. We heard rumblings from USDA that we needed some kind of a certification program in order to a good housekeeping seal of approval and so forth, and instead of letting them do it for us, we did it for ourselves, and then they accepted it.
So you were the self-starters.
Yeah.
Yes.
And back early, most every breed had their own forms for us to notify them as to where embryos were secured and so forth. And so I was chairman of the committee in getting all the forms from all the different breeds and consolidating them and come up with one form, so the ET practitioners only had one form to mess with rather than a couple dozen.
So you streamlined the process.
It was streamlined.
And you understood from being on the other side of it, right? Because being a person that was doing those services, you knew that it was important to make this accessible and easy so that the whole system could be in place to create this organized standard for embryo transfer, the services and the protocols around that. And what you just talked about there with your leadership at the American Embryo Transfer Association, that's just one of several leadership roles that you've had over the years, places and positions that you have been in to mentor others. What is it that led you to give back and to want to help others on their own paths?
Well, it's like anything else. If you're sold on what you're doing, you try to make it better, and that's what I've tried to do in trying to get my influence in to increasing the value of those organizations.
Yeah, and doing it through people.
And people, yeah. The American Jersey Cattle Association and the American Embryo Transfer Association are like part of my family.
And I bet they'd say the same about you too.
Maybe sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and with those being part of your family and lending support back to the organizations and the people that you're close to, you've also put together some scholarship programs for young people in pursuit of their own dairy careers and industry improvements. Tell me a little bit about those scholarships.
Okay. What really instigated that was when I got out of the Army and I had to make a decision whether just to go to work or go to school, the GI Bill helped out. I was able to get scholarships to go to college. My wife worked my way through college.
What a good woman.
And so when we got to the point where we could afford it, then we said, well, there are other kids that need that same help. And so we formed a scholarship program with the American Jersey Cattle Association and another one with the New River Valley Finance Group. And so to date, they've been in operation now for 8-10 years, and they have reaped about over $50,000 for scholarships for students.
Wow. Do you ever get an opportunity to connect with some of the students that have benefited?
Oh yeah, I tried to get to the meetings where they're awarded their scholarships.
Aw.
And meet them and try to learn to know them.
Any that really stand out that were able to take that scholarship and really ended up doing some meaningful or impactful work so far in the industry?
Yeah, there's a number of them have become veterinarians, and others have leadership roles in the dairy industry.
Aw.
So it's great.
So as I'm listening to you share these pieces of your story, Joe, there is so much that comes back to the idea of development. You've developed resources, developed programs, developed materials, developed processes, developed organizations and partnerships, but ultimately developed people, and continuing to do that through the work of these young people and supporting them, but ultimately developing the progress of the dairy industry and your area that you have near and dear to your heart, the Jersey breed. And when you really look back at everything that you've been a part of, what would you say is the most gratifying thing that you've accomplished?
I would say probably the improvement in the genetics of dairy cattle, because we have flushed over 10,000 cows and we've transferred over 100,000 embryos.
Wow.
And so that would certainly make a little dent in improving the breeds of dairy cattle in the U.S.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Those are some numbers that have some power to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that impact is one that means a lot to you to see that. And when you really look at, again, that genetic progress, where do you think the Jersey breed would be today if there hadn't been that push and that advancement?
Yeah.
What difference do you think it made?
Well, I think all breeds are really benefiting from that kind of technology, because it's increasing the genetic value of the basis of using the best animals in each of the breeds to increase the value of that breed.
Yeah, and continues to do so today.
Yeah.
Any stories that really stand out in your mind from some of those early days of working on perfecting the process of embryo transfer? Anything that really stands out to you from those early days?
I don't know. The most challenging were the early years,
Yeah, how so?
and trying to go through and develop techniques in recovering embryos from cows non-surgically. I know I sacrificed a fishing rod, a hollow fiberglass fishing rod, in order to recover embryos from cows. But I was so busy doing ET work and trying to get that going that I didn't have much time for fishing anyway.
No, so that fishing pole found a good home. So that one of the many trials and research areas that led you to being able to perfect a technique, and so also when hormonal protocols became available to be able to sync those heats and to be able to time the parts of the procedures. How did that change things?
Yeah, it was back originally, as far as follicle stimulating hormone to cause superovulation in the cow, were hard to find and so forth. Then a couple companies started isolating FSH, and that made it a lot easier to go through and determine what level to use on each cow, and each cow is different, just like people, and so we kept a real meaningful record on each cow we came in contact with as to how much FSH she should get and make everything work.
Wow, so you really catered it to the cow. You got to know those cows pretty well, didn't you?
Yep, we did.
Yeah.
Some cows you could give a very small dose and get 20 embryos. Others you could give a large dose and get 3.
Wow.
So they were so really different.
Yeah. And so again, Joe, all of these things that you've done in your lifetime that have really truly made a difference and an impact in dairy cattle genetics, in dairy farming, and the progress that we see today, that led up to your recent recognition here as 2025 Dairy Shrine Pioneer of the Year. So congratulations on such a fantastic honor.
Thank you.
Yeah. What did it mean to you to receive that award this year?
I guess that's really the ultimate goal and the ultimate prize, to be selected as a pioneer. So it's just unbelievable that you can work for your whole lifetime and have so much fun and get recognized with such a prestigious award.
Aw. And you received that recognition at a banquet last evening here at World Dairy Expo. Would you like to share anything from your comments or your speech from last night?
Yeah, a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of people commented on it.
Yes. Anything that because you had an opportunity to also get up and give some comments, correct?
It was unbelievable, the number of people that were at the banquet last night that I have had contact with through the years. And then they all came around and were real happy for me.
Yeah. Well, congratulations, Joe, on not just the National Dairy Shrine Pioneer Award here in 2025, but on a lifetime of dedication to the dairy industry, to advancing genetics and developing programs, cows, and people. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I'm just happy as I can be.
Oh, and you sure should be. And so, well, thank you, Joe, for everything that you have done and the ways that you have and continue to move the dairy industry forward. And so thank you for joining us today. And once again, Peggy Coffeen from Uplevel Dairy Podcast, sharing stories like this with our pioneers and leaders in the dairy industry on behalf of National Dairy Shrine.